who never got tested. Please agree with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that probably made you feel if this guy or woman wanted to dope, they could because they're in a country that never gets tested. Maybe golf is not such a great example because it's not such a high-risk sport for doping, but there are some sports where that is exactly the way people see things. If you're an athlete frankly, in a Western European country, you're more likely to be tested than almost any other country. So there's quite a lot of research evidence into that in which people perceive that difference and see it as highly important. But there's no clear guidelines. There's no system in place that says, oh, look, Morocco, as an example, you've not been testing your athletes, you can't take part anymore. There is no system like that. There's guidelines, what they should be doing. There's the threat of non-compliance, but there's so many countries that have been on and off the non-compliance list and never actually been punished. So Kenya were non-compliant right up until about a month before the Olympics. So the fact that they hadn't done testing for years up to that point didn't actually lead to any formal sanction. So this is hidden behind the big headlines of all the corruption and scandal. The fact the system just doesn't work. It doesn't produce a level playing field because some people are free to do what they want and others aren't. In fact, if anything, that makes the level playing field less level. Okay, where did I get to? So this is my last point, really, before opening up for discussion, was that in all of this big power structure of WADA at the top, national anti-doping agencies, the IOC, other international governing bodies, FIFA, all that kind of stuff, the people who are least represented are the very people for whom the policy is supposed to be for, and the people who are the subject of the policy. So athletes are not consulted. There's an athletes commission in WADA, but it's quite a small group and they don't have a huge amount of power. Okay? So, in terms of governance, transparency, accountability, consultation, so on and so forth, the athlete's voice is almost invisible. And any athlete that speaks up critically to say, I don't like the fact that I can be tested at any time anywhere, has actually then been publicly chastised as being anti-doping. So it's very difficult to resist the system even when they are the subjects of it. Okay, so that leads me to ask you some questions. So, my first one is, what do you think is good and bad about current anti-doping policy?
It takes too long to produce inconsistencies and then make the sanctions. And I don't get why you would retrospectively sanction someone, but not retrospectively exonerate if they've been found not to do it.
Okay. I think that's 2 points.
Yeah, probably so.
Right. So what takes a long time, can you say?
Well, it seems to have taken an incredibly long time to actually produce concrete evidence of past offences of doping and then sanction the athletes.
So you're talking about retesting from 2008 Olympics, 2012 Olympics. Does everybody know about this? So there's been a few athletes that have been identified. So one of the reasons that they were tested, of course, was the evidence that came out of the Russia investigation. But one of the main reasons that they actually were found positive was because there was a new test for old drugs. Okay? So some of those athletes were busted for turinabol. Turinabol was a drug which was basically created and disseminated and used in the 1960s by the East German government. So you're talking about, what, 40 years later, people still using the same drug, but they were using it on the same basis, which was they thought it was undetectable after they'd stopped using it for about 3 weeks. Stopped using it for 3 weeks, not yet. So they discovered a new test that could trace it further back. So that's what they've used to retest those samples. So it's the science catching up. So I think 40 years is quite a long time for science to catch up. But one of the issues I have about the length of time is sometimes it can take 2 years to get a decision on a case. So there was a wheelchair athlete from Canada called Jeff Adams. He had a case of cocaine contamination. So he was suspended, awaiting a decision. So if he just accepted the decision, it would have been a 2-year ban. So it transpires it took 2 years to get through all the appeals processes to find out that he was innocent. So he had just lost the 2 years of his career waiting for the decision. And he'd spent something like, off the top of my head, something like, told me this, I think it was something like $1 million Canadian dollars on lawyers just to get proof that he was innocent. And sometimes you can't really reclaim that. It's not that clear if you get that, if you are proven innocent, if you get that money back. Anyway, so anyway, is there anything good about anti-doping? Yeah?
It's good because it aims at promoting clean sport and to avoid cheating and all those stuff. The implication is that it aims at getting an athlete who is 100% without anything enhancing his performance. On the other side, I can say it is bad because innocent people are caught at times. A clear example was what you just gave, that an athlete took a drug just to control his kata or something like that, and in the long run, a medal was confiscated from him. So that is the bad aspect of it. Innocent people caught in the trap.
Okay. Actually, there was a Romanian gymnast who won a gold medal in the 2000 games. So she also had a cold. She was only 16 years old. A team doctor gave her the Nurofen pills, tablets. He had thought he'd had it cleared by the IOC. She ended up losing her gold medal, 16 years old, because of the medicine. I don't know if any of you follow the Australian rules case with Essendon Club. Essendon was one of the best clubs in Aussie rules football. Basically been brought to his knees. All the players were suspended. The coach was sacked. The performance director was sacked. Because they'd used a supplement, but they'd had the supplement cleared by the Australian Anti-Doping Agency, but when it transpired that this was what they were using, the World Anti-Doping Agency said, hang on, we're not having that. They appealed to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, and then the whole club ended up in complete trouble, massive trouble. There's loads of examples.
What are your views then on the guy that's, I can't remember if he's a boxer or what sport he's in, but he's looking to sue, is it UK doping at the moment, because of loss of earnings from a sanction.
Yeah.
I mean, he's basically had to give up his career through injury anyway, so I don't really see how he can claim loss of earnings, but what do you think on that? Because that's essentially kind of taking a civil action.
Yeah. So what's his name? Somebody remind me?
I can't remember.
I can even picture his face. The guy with the mental health problems. Boxer. The English guy.
Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury.
There you go.
Tyson Fury is threatening to sue UK anti-doping. So the problem with that is the whole system, the whole anti-doping system has been set up in such a way that it's not possible to take a civil action. It's just not possible. People have tried to do it before and they've not achieved it. So, and it's a legal sleight of hand in which essentially athletes are voluntary signatories to the code. The code is essentially a private contract between them and the World Anti-Doping Agency. There is no third party that can intervene or has any jurisdiction. So I don't think he's going to get anywhere with that. There's only one case which has gone successfully to an external court, and that was the case of a transgender athlete who was denied the use of the hormone therapy that she needed. Her name was Kristen Worley. She won a case in the Canadian Court for Human Rights. She won compensation, which has not been revealed, and she forced the IOC to change the rules on dealing with gender realignment issues. But that is one case, and that cost her a fortune and took many years to get to that stage.
On the other edge of that, we've also got the Russians threatening to remove the hockey players from the Winter Olympics because it essentially means then that there will be lots of the professional athletes basically being needed for the games to be a viable championships. So they're kind of threatening on the back of their sanctions as well that we'll just pull our athletes and then you won't have a competition.
Yeah.
So is that a different way to
interesting.
kind of go and
That's right.
influence?
Well, it does remind me of the 2007 Tour de France, where the athletes who were supposedly identified as the associated with Operation Puerto, which was the raid on the Madrid clinic. So they were withdrawn from the tour before the tour started. So that was a decision made by the organisers, and that was seen as hugely risky for that very reason. Obviously, the attractiveness of the event is diminished if you take out people. But I haven't heard it the other way around, where they are using the fact that they've become subject to accusations as a reason for that.
That's another instance. I've just been kind of
Okay.
watching how that's
Those are
playing out,
good
but
stuff
that's,
in there,
that's basically what their threat is, that they will pull the professional athletes and then Olympic Games won't have a Winter Olympics hockey, a viable championship.
Yeah. It sort of reminds me of baseball and NFL and NBA, where they're not really that bothered about sanctioning the athletes. They don't want to impose 4-year bans on the rest of their athletes. Because they know that if they were to remove them for any length of time, they lose their product. Is there a better way to control doping? Yes? What's that?
I just think it could be done better. Like, I think there's too many kind of like loopholes and stuff in like the policies that they have. So I think it needs to be tighter to like make it better controlled.
So just an example of a therapeutic use exemption system. I mean, that's a clear loophole. I mean, the stuff that was exposed by the Fancy Bears hack in 2016 just demonstrated that some people were getting medicines that were never even signed off by anyone, or signed off by one doctor without any supporting evidence. So what's the solution?
Well, I think they've got too many like drugs like on the list. Like, I think it should only be drugs that are proven to like improve your performance. But I think they've got drugs on, like, see how they've got ones that don't improve your performance. I think they should just like scrap that and focus on the ones that are purely about improving your performance. And it might be easier to control in that way, and like easier to understand for athletes who are like involved in that environment.
So I think that is a good idea. Politically, it's not. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think people are so obsessed with banning everything that the idea of reducing the list for any reason, I think it always gets quite a backlash.
Like ladder to controlling to even think about that.
So I say,
I think ladder too powerful to even think about letting other people control what would be on the list.
yeah. Well, you've got the other problem, of course, is that WADA have encouraged countries to invest in laboratories to test for all these drugs. So you've got a system which is in place for it. So if you were to just all of a sudden say from the 1st of January, all those machines that you've spent all that money on, we don't need them anymore. And half your staff, you don't need them anymore either. And we're going to tell the public that we're not concerned about these drugs, which we've been trying to control since 2003, but we've decided they don't really need to be controlled. So politically, although in principle it sounds like a good idea, I think politically it's really, really difficult. Yeah.
Is there maybe a way to make doping or anti-doping a bit cheaper? Because I know that it's very expensive to run, tests on a regular basis. I think I read something that for some sports it's about $300 million a year just for anti-doping. So maybe if you make it cheaper, smaller countries to then implement a bit more, regular testing. So let's say, what you said, for example, Ethiopia, where they maybe don't have the financial opportunities to do, let's say like America, for example, making it cheaper to maybe improve, sort of catching more athletes as well.
Well, the only way to make it cheaper, I think, is to reduce the list, basically. So a test can cost between $500 and $1,000. And as you say, it's not really that affordable, especially in countries where they have other major issues to deal with. So this is a kind of, if thinking of the geopolitics of all this, it's a first world solution to a problem which affects all countries. So it's designed on the basis that every country can find money to do it. And that's just not true. The only other solution is not necessarily to reduce the cost of the test itself, but to find more money to pay for more tests. So there might be a way to distribute some of the excess money that's in sport in such a way that it goes into a big pot of money for anti-doping. So as an example, you could almost have like a tax or a levy on any professional club that makes any sort of profit. So a football club makes 50 million, you could say, well, let's put 5% of that into anti-doping. So that would be viable?
There's another way
Okay, go on.
to make doping legal.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Well, to be
But I wouldn't
honest,
have a job, so I'm not so sure.
all that high performance sport, they do take either as a supplements or vitamins. They just take it to some level, the
Yes.
threshold, which is still legal. And that still can be considered as a doping, right? They just don't exceed that certain number. And the test, the urine test, it doesn't expose all the substances. If we want to make a better understanding of what the athlete has taken, that's supposed to be checked by the blood test.
Yes.
Again, the urine sample test, it only exposed substances which has been taken a couple of weeks ago or months. So it's very narrow field for what we can test and how much. So is that really relevant when it comes to checking who has taken what and what's the amount?
Okay, so your point is, I'll try and elaborate on the point. So what you're saying is, that there's so many problems with the urine test, and there is blood tests, but they're even more expensive, and they can actually be manipulated if you've got someone who can measure your blood externally,
Yes.
and support you to do that. So because of those scientific problems, then we should abandon the idea of clean sport and let everybody do what they want.
Yes, because from the cynical point of view, everyone is taking something.
But if they took
So why do?
too much, does that not increase all the health problems and so on?
And that's the risk for the athletes.
But if they end up in a position where their coach or their doctor is forcing them to do it, that's different. So for that is the major problem. That is the focal point of. If you had a policy that focused on that, then you could allow mature, potential athletes who had can make an informed decision on what to take.
Could they not get doctors in, but say WADA or whatever, rather than your team getting your own doctor, WADA appoint you a doctor, so you've not got that connection that they'll want you to treat it.
Okay, so everybody has a doctor, but the doctor has to be accredited or appointed by WADA.
Yeah.
So how much would that cost?
Probably as much
doctors
as
there? Yeah.
No, but they're paying for a doctor anyway.
Right.
So say,
Okay.
so say they have see how they pay for their own doctors. So say Scotland put forward a doctor, and then WADA would allocate him to go test France or something, or be with France. You know what I mean? So they wouldn't want France to do well, but
Okay.
so they wouldn't encourage them to cheat, but they would be honest with them.
Okay, so it's potentially a good idea, but what is the potential risk? So the Scottish doctor goes to France, hangs around with all the French team.
But then say they like move the doctor on like every 2 or 3 months, so they don't become too pally. And,
You could add to corruption.
How's that?
If you're, then, one country could go to somebody else and say, make sure that they don't get any advantages or anything. There's so many different ways that could be exploited. I thought.
Or you could just bribe the doctor.
Exactly.
So the Scottish guy goes to France, he's a bit fed up being a doctor, he wants to retire early, he takes 500 grand in cash, turn a blind eye. But the doctor can't, well, what I was going to say, slightly more sensibly, was the doctor can't be with them the whole time. There'd still be scope when the doctor's not with them for them to go and find a doping doctor who's going to give them what they need. So although I think in principle it's potentially a good idea, all of these things have always got little loopholes that can be exploited. Is there a way to make it fairer and more reasonable? So some of these cases we've talked about where athletes are probably completely innocent. Is there a way to give them the opportunity to make a case for defence which is easy, cheap, quick? I've just come back from Mexico, I've got quite a good show, I'm really sorry, I ate in that hotel, that's where, we have these steaks that are...
and they need to use a bit of common sense. Like people that decide the sanctions and stuff. Like if you've eaten that steak.
Then you don't trust them, do they? Because, especially if they're cyclists and things like that, they might be deliberately doing it, because that's the history of the sport. We'll find some sort of little...
There will always be people who will try to abuse it.
So, the system has to be highly suspicious of all athletes all the time.
Can I ask you, why, so let's say, I don't know, Olympics, right? Huge event, like the biggest event, sporting event in the world, right?
Yeah.
Why don't they have their own pharmacy where they control the substances that are in the medicines? They give it to athletes, and so there can be no cases like the Scottish skier, right?
Okay, so there's kind of moved more towards that in the...
Because I think like the relationship between anti-doping, I think the future of anti-doping is cooperating more with pharmaceutical companies.
Okay, so there's 3 or 4 ways in which that does happen. So one is, as you say, all athletes take supplements. So most national anti-doping agencies have contracts with companies to provide supplements which are pure. So WADA has contracts with pharmaceutical companies, so they understand what's coming out on the market, so they can develop a test for it before it hits the streets, as it were. I don't think the IOC can control all pharmaceutical products that athletes can get their hands on. They can have a pharmacy in the village that they can sort of say, during the time of the Olympics, maybe this is the only place you should come to. But outside of that, it would be very difficult to stop an athlete from going to their local pharmacist.
But you're an athlete; it's your profession. Like if you have choice between the pharmacy that, like at least for me as an athlete, if I have the choice between the pharmacy that I know everything is going to be okay and the one that's not, I would be stupid to go to that one. Yeah, it's not. And then I would have to take. So for example, with the cocaine, right? Like if I take cocaine, I give you that low amateur level is kind of too hard. But if I'm an athlete, I take cocaine. I take full responsibility for taking the cocaine, just like anybody else, right? If you take a drug as a civilian, let's say, non-athlete, you accept that the drug can have positive and negative effects on your body, right? If you're an athlete, you accept that taking that drug can cost you a career.
So there's Canadian Paul Walter, just before the 2016 Games, went on a night out, arranged a meeting, a liaison on Craigslist, met a lady, she took cocaine. He told her beforehand, I'm an athlete, I'm going to the Olympics, you have to be super clean. She agreed to that, but she obviously ignored it. Just before the liaison, she went to the bathroom, took cocaine, she ended up in his body. So he got off with it, but he had to come forward and tell that story
I
publicly.
think I have two problems with that story. The first is that Olympic athlete has to schedule a meeting with somebody on Craigslist, and the other one because he's taking a risk, even though like me
But
as
he has a right to do that.
True, but it's my profession.
Right.
If I go out with my friends, I tell them, hey guys, I'm going to be out at the Olympics. I can't be around someone who's smoking marijuana.
But you've had enough education to know that. Not everybody has.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So he had enough education not to schedule meeting with someone.
But that's not having sex with a stranger is not in a banned list. Last I heard.
Yeah, but like, yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
Kind of. If he has a right. If he has,
He definitely has the right.
he has the right to do
But
it.
he himself personally is taking the risk that that person might not tell the truth to him.
So that requires a whole level of constant self-surveillance.
I get it, but yeah, as an athlete, yeah.
Yeah.
As an athlete, you should want a clean sport. Therefore, you should be the advocate for living a clean lifestyle.
First
So,
So
principle
you
of
can't
health and
party
safety
anymore,
is to
you
take-
can go out or do your own private stuff.
Famous people will have buds all over them as well.
But you're an athlete. No. You're an athlete. You make millions of
Yeah.
money
Not
on
necessarily.
performance. So you either take the fame or the lifestyle.
yeah, not everyone makes millions.
I know, but we're talking about Olympic athletes, right?
Still.
If you make a living, let's say.
I don't know, there are some athletes that regardless of their status in their career take full responsibility for what they do in their daily lives. They go to bed at a decent time, they eat well, they sleep well, they live well, they don't have liaisons with people they're not meant to have when they're in a tournament, and they're being sensible about stuff. And you've seen it with the cricket teams and football teams that have gone abroad, and there's been big scandals about people doing stuff when their wives are at home and all this kind of junk. So it's first principle of health and safety is that you take care of yourself and you take responsibility for yourself and your own safety. And it's the same as being an athlete. Regardless of your level, you take responsibility for what you do, what you put in your body, how you take care of yourself. And it should be like that. It shouldn't need necessarily all of this legislation. And it's the same thing again. It's legislation for the few that are spoiling it for the many. And that's where things have just gone off the scale with the amount of drugs. I mean, you could get quite a good compromise between Lee's suggestion of diminishing the number of drugs that are actually on the list and actually doing then a smaller scale of monitoring. Well, okay, we've reduced the list to this, but actually continue to test for the ones that we used to ban and see how many athletes actually still have those drugs in their system. And you could actually get quite a good compromise and a lot of research on, well, yeah, we were absolutely daft to have those on a banned list, and we were completely justified to have these ones still on it. So you
Yeah, they
get
did that for
good
Ephigene. They
compromise.
took Ephigene off the list and then everybody started using it, so I think they put it back on. You know, so there is a bit of history to that. I mean, I think you're absolutely right, and I think one of the... So I've just finished this book, which will probably be out in April or May, but one of the suggestions towards the end is you actually have different categories of athletes. So your Olympic athlete who's at the top of their career, who's had levels of education and support all the way through, who can get advice just by picking up the phone to their team doctor, perhaps even accredited by WADA, then they should be treated differently to the guy who's, you know, the amateur rugby player, or the amateur cyclist whose bottle was spiked by an opponent. You know, that happened last year. You know, there are differences in different types of athletes in different contexts. And there's different types of drugs. Some are more serious than others. So some of that could be taken into account. But I think athletes should be allowed personally, even if it involves Craigslist.
But they're taking the risk.
Yeah, they are, of course.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you all for your contribution.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.